Hello and welcome to the RacingBet preview, the first one of 2021. I'm your host, Tim Geers, joined by Trent Crebbin as always. Hope you've had a very safe and happy new year. Hope the hangovers weren't too bad yesterday. It's been plenty of racing over the festive period and things just continue, of course, headlined by Perth Cup Day over here in Western Australia and a very solid card over at Caulfield. Trent, happy new year to you. And what's the racing scene been like over there in Melbourne where you focused your domain?
Yeah, it's been good. We had a few winners at Flemington on New Year's Day, which definitely helped the post New Year's celebrations. Overall a good profitable day, and we roll on to Caulfield as well.
Yeah, I'm glad it was a good one for you because I had two winners at Pinjarra on Friday. They were $10 and $20, included neither of them in the betting strategy and came out losing overall. So a few lessons learned the hard way there. I'm not sure too many people had tip $20 and $10 shots and have a losing day overall. But this game is all about losing. All about learning, I should say, and plenty of losing too. But we'll hopefully take the lessons learned and move on to Saturday and the rest of 2021. Now, Trent, good time to introduce this week's sponsor of the show, RacingBet. They're a pretty new bookmaker on the scene here in Australia, fully owned and operated in Australia with offices in Melbourne. They offer racing and sports betting options, and they're just going to continue to add more things as they grow. But we welcome them to the show, and it's good to have them on board. Now, tell us what you think of the card at Caulfield on Saturday.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's no real feature races on the day, but it's good depth. I think there's a few really nice types going around. I'm kind of a bit cautious, kind of pick and choose my races, but I think there's a really good couple of bets earlier in the card, especially, and then we'll be able to roll over to Perth a little bit later in the afternoon.
Yep, Ascot headlined, as I said, by the Group 2 Perth Cup. And this basically rounds out the racing carnival over here in Perth, but we've also got the Summer Scorcher and the Latrice Classic on the card. Expecting a pretty firm track. It's been hot weather basically for the last couple of weeks over here in Perth. I think the rail goes back to the true position, and I think there's an easterly wind, which should favour those basically up on the speed. So look certainly for those up on the pace in the first few races at least. We'll get into your best bets at Caulfield. Trent, we'll kick off with you over in Melbourne. Your best bet, getting straight into things. Race number one, horse number one, Impecunious, currently $2.50 with RacingBet. Made a really eye-catching debut in Australia, winning first up.
Yeah, it did. That was over 1,200 metres here at Caulfield. It sat last in a field of 7. It was a strong tempo set up front by a couple of horses I was counting there, Win Some. Sat back as kind of looked like it was kind of under pressure a little bit early, but once it really got into its gear, it hit the line very strongly, won by just over 2 lengths. There were some big gaps back in the field. Steps up to 1,400 metres here. That's definitely going to suit this horse. Is supposedly on an ATC Oaks path in the autumn. So the 1,400 metres is definitely going to suit here. And I think this horse is going to go on to bigger and better things than the BM70 here. It's going to get back in the field again from barrier 9, which is probably the only concern. But I just think it could have 2, 3, 4 lengths on these horses. And if it brings what it did for its first up run, I think it's going to be too strong again.
Yeah, hard not to be impressed by that first up win. I remember watching that race and definitely one to mark down in the black book for the future. And it looks a very good chance of making it back-to-back wins. As we said, $2.50 currently with RacingBet for Trent's best bet of the day and the first at Caulfield. Move on to your best value bet of the day. It comes up in race number 3. It's a staying event. I think I just read it was over about 2,380 metres. Yep. And you're with the Mitchell Beer trained Perfect Illusion, horse number 10, currently around $9.50 or $10 with RacingBet.
Yeah, I just thought it was a touch of value here. Has come in a little bit since we've had a couple of scratchings and deductions, but even still, I thought he was a good chance here. A couple of starts ago, he was only about half a length or so off Miyake, who beat Charlie Rose, the very impressive winner of the Bagot today, a couple of starts ago. So I think that form line's quite strong. And then last start at Sandown, he was well back, started at 3:10, and he kind of just got a bit tight for room there and didn't really get kind of able to build full momentum there. He was also galloped on. I saw Mitch Beer post a photo of quite a badly cut leg that he had there. So I think there are definitely excuses for that run. He gets in better at the weights here against some of those horses that he did meet there. He also gets a senior jockey taking over with Craig Newitt. Barrier 12's potentially a touch sticky, but I think he's a big price compared to what he's done his last 2 runs without having a whole lot of luck last start against some of the same horses here again.
Yeah, copped a little bit of criticism for that photo on social media, did Mitchell Beer. But anyway, we hope he's recovered well and hope he can run a good race at double figure odds. That's race number 3, horse number 10, Trent's best value bet of the day over at Caulfield. Anything else that stands out on the Caulfield before we shift over here to the west over at Ascot, Trent?
There's one more. Race 6, I think number 8 Zion was, I think, a moral beaten at Flemington last start. I think we're going to follow our money there, and we'll be backing him again to get the job done with John Allen getting the sack for that pretty shocking ride that he dished up last start. Geordie Childs takes over. I think he'll be in the finish again.
Yeah, rightfully so, getting the boot too. For anyone that backed Zion last start, do not go and watch the replay, believe me. We'll move over here to Ascot. Perth Cup Day, as I said, supported by the Summer Scorcher and the Latrice Classic. 9 races overall. My best bet actually comes up in one of the day's features. It is race 7 on the card, the Summer Scorcher. And I think horse number 6, Indian Pacific, is the best bet of the day. This horse comes out of Group 1 company. We last saw him running 5 weeks ago in the Winterbottom Stakes behind Elite Street. He went into that, I think, around single figures. I'll just double check. Yeah, he went around as about a $9 or $10 chance in Group 1 company. Drops back to a listed race here. This is much easier than what he contested there. And I think the drop back to 1,000 metres is also right up his alley. He's got 3 wins from 4 starts over this track and distance. 2 starts ago, he just bumped it, ran into a heavy track and still was very brave and beaten less than a length by Celebrity Queen and Stage Man. And prior to that, first up, he won over this track and distance in the Crawford Stakes. So I think all of that, Chris Parnham taking the ride, obviously, with Brad Parnham injured. The winkers come off for the first time. Draws well in barrier 4. They're going to go seriously hard in this race. We've got speed aplenty with the likes of Mervyn, Caro Capo drawn underneath Indian Pacific. You've got Misty Metal first up from a spell. If she's fresh, she's going to go out, or at least go out quick. Battle Hero can go quick, and of course, Indian Pacific himself can go quick. So plenty of speed in the race. But the simple fact of it is, I think Indian Pacific is the best horse in the race. And if he turns up at his best, I think this is as good as over. I suspect he's going to take a little sit behind that speed and probably just let a couple of the others go, just take a trail behind them. And look, if he's at his very best, as I said, I think he's just a class above these horses. And from everything that I've been told around the track is that this horse is looking super, and they expect him to be very hard to beat. So that's good enough for me. Race number 7, horse number 6, Indian Pacific in the Summer Scorcher. Best price around is probably around $2.10 or $2.15. I think Winners Bet currently have him as $2.05 and the same at Sportsbet. So he's going to be somewhere thereabouts, but I wouldn't be surprised if this horse started odds on. Any thoughts from you, Trent?
No, it does look hard to beat back to the 1,000 metres. Got a really good record. And I think he's a bit adaptable. He doesn't probably have to lead. He can probably just sit off them. And if he's right coming off that Winterbottom run, he'll probably win.
We'll move on to my best value bet of the day, and I had to search long and hard for this. Just one of those days at Ascot where nothing really at decent odds stood out. So I had to really go searching for this. And in terms of a confidence rating, I'd rate this about 5% out of 100. But anyway, I've landed on the last race and the last horse. So race number 9, horse number 15, Winnifer is my best value bet of the day, currently around $31. But I'll be waiting till jump time. I think you'll get a better price than $31, especially on the exchange. I wouldn't be surprised to see this start 80 to 1 or 100 to 1. Look, she's the winner of just one race from 15 starts, but that was over this distance. So there's a plus. This race is over 2,200 metres. She's had 3 runs back from a spell this time, and while on paper it doesn't look like she's done a lot. 2 starts ago at Pinjarra, she sat wide throughout, was given a very easy time of it late. So if you give her for that. And then last start over this track and distance, she actually made relatively good ground. If you go back and watch the replay, she was basically last on the turn, and she kind of just sliced through the field and was only beaten 2.5 lengths. So it was the best run we've seen from her in quite some time. And as I said, I thought she was, particularly of those in the back of the field, the one finishing off the best in the race. So at $31, I'm just thinking maybe now after the spell, 4th run back, she might be starting to get to her best. And she just looks like a mare that needs ground from very early days. So anyway, I thought you could do worse than that in the race at $31. And as I said, I had to go searching for her as my best value bet of the day. I wouldn't be saying it's going to win, or it's no moral. But anyway, in any case, Race 9, number 15, Winifred is my best value bet of the day. We'll move on to the day's feature, the Group 2 Perth Cup. This is race number 8 on the card, 2,400 metres, and this is a race worth plenty of discussion, Trent. As we suspected last week in the video preview last week, Truly Great might be running, and sure enough, there he was on Monday in final acceptances. He lines up here with 60 kilos. William Pipe booked a ride. He draws barrier 12. Give us your thoughts on Truly Great.
Yeah, well, I'm just a little bit annoyed he's here, to be honest. We all kind of didn't think he was going to be running. I guess it makes it a much better contest, and it certainly makes it much more interesting rather than having most of the field sitting on 53 kilos. Look, 60 kilos, he's probably good enough to carry it. He's probably going to get a long way back again, but he does look a really promising type that can probably come to the Eastern States either later this year or in the springtime and pick off a couple of handy races. I think he's definitely the horse to beat. $2.10, $2.15. I'm not sure I want to be piling into him at that price. It's probably about his right price for me, but I'm probably finding it a little bit tricky race to really have a bet with him in it, and I can't be hard against or hard with him.
Yeah, so winners bet have him at $2.30 at the moment, so he's getting out to a pretty backable price. It'd be interesting to see what this market does, you know, throughout the day and closer to jump time, just what price he gets to. I think a lot of people obviously see the weight. The weight's the only thing, really, isn't it? You know, you can't. Yes, the wide barrier you can say is problematic, but at the end of the day, it comes down to whether he can carry 60 kilos against a bunch of horses carrying 53 and 54 over 2,400 meters. So, be interesting to see what the market does and what price he gets to. As I said, he's already out to $2.30. For me, I think that's a bet. I'm just going to bank on the fact that he's the best horse in the race. He's proven, you know, time and time again that he's the best horse in this race. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see just if weight can stop the proverbial train. We see Nerf Bosk line up again. He was a good win last weekend as my best bet of the day. One as easy as you like, just given the best ride by Paul the Pontiff Harvey. Chris Parnham goes on board today. Obviously, Paul Harvey can't ride the 54 kilos, so Chris Parnham jumps on for his dad, Neville Parnham. He's done a super job with this horse since he got him from Melbourne. Probably looks a different horse to the days of when you were studying his form.
Yeah, well, he was a kind of a live Melbourne Cup chance. What was it, two years ago or so? And yeah, he's thrived. He didn't go a yard on soft track, so the firm WA tracks are definitely helping him show, you know, something near his best. I thought he was probably short enough though at $5. To be honest, I thought there was potentially a case you could make for a couple of others at a longer price if you wanted to try and get the favourite beat.
Well, one of those at longer odds is Princess Jenny, of course. There was a bit of cat and mouse and some silly buggers being played earlier this month when, you know, going into, I think it was the Pakenham Cup or the Bendigo Cup or one of the cups, when they came out and said she'd be going for a spell straight after the race. And then, you know, on the same day, there was an article published saying she was going to come over. She was a late nomination for the Perth Cup. So anyway, here she is. They boarded the flight over. Of course, John McNeil was stuck in Melbourne, so Paul Harvey does pick up the ride. I'm curious to get your thoughts. You've obviously seen her a lot more than I have this preparation over in Melbourne. It might be hard for you to kind of line the form up, but would her best form in Melbourne see her be really competitive in a race like this?
Yeah, I think it would be. You know, she was a really big run last start, carrying 62 kilos at Flemington. She kind of probably hit the front a bit early there as well. Really fought on late, was only overrun late. Dropped 6 kilos for this one. Her win 3 back in the Bendigo Cup was excellent, beating Pondus, who probably should have won, but you know, it was still a high class race. And the run at Pakenham was, you know, solid again as well when she was coming off a bit of a let up, bit of an injury, kind of just more of a tick over run, I think, more than anything. Comes over here, yeah, like you said, it's hard to line up, but I think her best form definitely puts her in a race like this, and I think she'll be somewhere in the finish.
She gets every chance from barrier 2 as well, like just going to get a suck run in behind them, you would think. Somewhere midfield, drops from 62 to 56 kilos. As I said, Paul Harvey booked to ride. I think on her very best form, absolutely she can be a major player in this race. And quite often the best form for 2,400 metre races is 2,400 metre races. So the fact that she's been racing over this distance in her past 3 starts has to be a positive. And look, if she handles the travel well, which there's no reason she shouldn't really. You would think she'd be really competitive, especially like I look at this field and I think it's quite thin outside of the likes of Truly Great, Nerf Bosk, and, it's something like Midnight Blue. There really isn't that much to this race. So as a Group 1 winner that she is, and as you said, recently coming off success in Group 3 company in the Bendigo Cup, she really should be in this race up to her ears, albeit she does carry 56 kilos as a mare. Let's get your thoughts on Midnight Blue. Of course, we thought this was the Peters horse and the Perth Cup horse for the stable, and there it was. She failed to win when we thought she was a good thing. And I should say. And anyway, he lines up here with 53 kilos on his back. Paddy Carberry booked to ride. But it might have been this horse's lack of ability to win that forced the stable's hand to enter Truly Great in this race.
Yeah, potentially. They might have just needed a bit of a backup plan. I still think he's a chance here. He's just been unlucky, getting too far back in his races, just from a few wide gates in his last couple. Draws barrier 3 here. Probably know him a little bit better than I do. I'm not sure if he has the early speed to kind of utilize that gate at all, but if he does, and he can kind of settle midfield and Truly Great's kind of out the back, I thought with 53 kilos, he's definitely a chance in this race. But yeah, I was kind of keener on him when he was going to have Pike on him and would be the Peters number 1 seed.
Yeah, it's interesting because he can be a little bit tardy out of the gate. So that first kind of 50 metres of the race is going to be crucial for him, I would think. So often we see with these connections in this stable, like grand final day, big race, just they have this ability, this uncanny ability to finally settle in the first half of the field when they've been ridden cold or prep. So it would not surprise me in the slightest to see him position box seat or 3 back the fence or in the first 4 or 5 runners from barrier 3. So it's going to be fascinating to see what they do. Trap for Fools. He looks like he's going to lead this field from barrier 15, you would think. Firm deck, can he win?
You can't really see him turning the tables on Truly Great. They meet basically at level weights, only a kilo difference. Yeah, he'll probably be there until the last 150 metres or so, but you can't really see him turning the tables, I wouldn't have thought.
And outside that, this is what I mean. Like, outside of that, there's not really much to this race, you would think. So, yeah, for me, I'm just going to bank on the fact that Truly Great's the best horse in the race. It terrifies me, him carrying 60 kilos against a bunch of horses carrying 53, but I just think he's that much better of a horse than everything else that I think you've just got to stick with this class. They wouldn't be running him here if he wasn't up to this. They wouldn't be running him here if he wasn't 100% right. So that's good enough for me. I'm just gonna back him, knowing that he's the best horse in the race, and hopefully his price just keeps drifting out. I agree with you, Princess Jenny. I think if she brings her best form to the race from barrier 2, she's going to be a major player in a race like this, given how thin it is, and really no knock on Nerf Bosk, who was super impressive last start and gets every chance again from barrier 4. What about you?
Yeah, look, I found this really tough. I've definitely Truly Great's the horse to beat. I think probably Midnight Blue's probably the danger. And wouldn't shock me to see number 7 Canvas run better than the $71 on offer, just getting up to 2,400 metres. She ran a couple of good races in the Oaks and Derby as a 3-year-old in some good company. And it wouldn't shock me to see her run in the first 4 or 5 at a very big price.
And how good was it after the barrier draw when they interview Bob Peters and they go, "Oh, Bob, Truly Great. You've entered him in the race after all the, after all the confusion and all the questions and everything else, all the uncertainty. You've decided to run him." And he says, "Yeah, he gave us no reason not to run. He looks better and better every single time I see him. He looks good." And then they say, "What's your top seed in the race?" And he goes, "It'd have to be Midnight Blue with no weight on its back." It's just another way to confuse us.
And watch a Dormant come out and win his 3rd race in a row at $30.
It's impossible. It's impossible, this game. Anyway, I think that'll do us, mate. So, yeah, my best bet, race 7, number 6, Indian Pacific. My best value, race 9, number 15, winner for Perth Cup. I think we're both on Truly Great, backing him as the best horse in the race. Trent's best bets, race 1, number 1, Impecunious, and best value, race 3, number 10, Perfect Illusion. Jump on winnersbet.com.au, check out their new site, sign up, have a crack with them, and hopefully we see them do well, because it's good for the game. You know, the more competitive bookmakers we have is better for the industry. So we thank them for joining up with us and sponsoring the show this week, and look forward to plenty of winners across New Year's weekend. Trent, have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week.